All right. We are live.
Yay! Happy Thanksgiving, if you celebrate it.
Yes. Happy Thanksgiving to the chat. I think we got a lot of
alternatively, fuck
North
Christopher
America.
Columbus. Speaking of wiping out half a population, or most of a population, with just a snap of your finger.
Yeah, right. The snap. Yeah, they're still trying to in the like original TV series and stuff or streaming series they're doing. They're still trying to like make that work in the storyline. That half the population was gone for 5 years.
Well,
yeah.
Okay, I'm not a huge Marvel fan. I've watched the movies, but my kid likes Spider-Man.
Oh yeah.
So we've watched Into the Spider-Verse like a billion times because that's just a fantastic movie. Then she's also watched like some of the live-action Tom Holland ones.
Oh
with
yeah.
her.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He hasn't. It's Spider-Man, and that's the part she's interested.
Right,
But
right.
in the latest one, either like Far From,
Yeah.
I forget whatever the latest one was. They're at school, and there was just this thing about one of the kids are like, so weird how everyone just came back
right,
after
right.
5 years, and like now my little brother is older than I am, right? And I thought that was kind of okay. I don't like the snap thing because hey, right? But I thought it was cool that they referenced it and kind of like the kid was kind of shaken up about it. It was just like this one little gag, and you're like, yeah, how would everybody?
Right. It's funny
react
that it would
to-
change the dynamics at a high school. Yeah, very much. You're 5 years older, but you don't have your high school diploma
Yeah.
yet.
Oh, so my little brother is now like 3 years older than I was. All right, how is this going to work? Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if they're gonna. I will never see that again. I think they planned well, and it hadn't been done before, so they can't do that again. They can't build up to a huge event and have people care about it again.
You think?
It's already kind of doing this, like kind of splintering, yeah. Because there's not they. It was kind of perfect that they took all the big name heroes away from them. They didn't have X-Men, they didn't have Spider-Man, they didn't have Fantastic Four, and they just worked with the kind of B teams and made you care about them. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
So Fantastic Four is what, C team?
I don't know. Yeah, they have had no luck in movies. Fantastic Four. Oh man. But so everything good over the holiday weekend? Oh, you've been doing any more painting or anything else come in the mail? Did your
My render base is Rendera. I think it's Renedra. No, they haven't arrived yet, so I'm a little bit reluctant to just but I've almost done that one.
Oh, cool. Can you test?
Highland Miniatures Launch Night. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
That was going to be like my knights until I saw Highland Miniatures released like actual like knights, and then like knights on foot, where I'm like, that's what.
Cool.
Okay, so you Launch
been
Neck things,
demoted?
or you've been demoted to like the hero bodyguards, right? Because you look cool.
Yeah.
But
Oh, very
I want
cool.
the armored knights. Those are cool. Yeah.
Nice.
So,
yeah. Very cool. Yeah, I've got Forbidden Psalm is on its way, and
nice.
the expansion. Yeah, I got hardcover of both of those, and they're coming. There's a lot of stuff on its way, but I think what's going to do, it's going to hit that holiday shipping bump, and then they said on its way, it's coming, and it's going to show up like early January. Yeah.
It's on its way. It's gone backwards, dude. It's back in the warehouse. Yeah.
And if it doesn't show up early January, then it waits till after Chinese New Year, and then it shows up after Chinese New Year.
Yep.
So we'll see. All right. So I hope everyone is doing well.
Hope you're
And Matt and Miguel both in the chat. Good to see you.
joining us instead of hanging out with your family, if that's what you do.
Yes.
Yeah, cool.
Oh, and Eisenhorn is in the is in the chat wishing us happy
Inquisitor.
Thanksgiving. Excellent. Well, we have happy Thanksgiving from the Inquisition, from Ordos Xenos. Onos,
I forget.
Oh yeah, Ordos Melius. I don't know. I forget which he started. Things went, but things
There were
changed.
the three, right? What,
Yeah.
like alien, demon, and heretic?
Yes.
Don't ask me to do the fake Latin.
I think Eisenhorn's fortunes changed over that series of books.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Yeah, so let's do this.
Cool.
So I guess this is our Thanksgiving live stream.
Yeah.
On thematic as
I feel like
it
you
is.
have like, you got to find some kind of like Norman Rockwell like.
Oh, that's what. That's right. That's what I should have done. The table between us should have been a steaming turkey. I just don't have my my graphics chops. All right. So let's do this. And I'll try not to touch the microphone. Welcome to the Weekly. I'm Jeremy.
I'm Chris.
And this week on the Weekly, Mutant Chronicles bad news.
Uh-oh.
So last week we got the good news.
Yep. Okay.
Dune Storyboards sold at auction for insane amount. Warhammer headquarters closed indefinitely.
Okay.
And Soulmist open beta. So we'll start with the
Bad news?
Yeah, the bad news. Yeah. So this is actually, we have amazing patrons. So if you'd like to be part of that elite, amazing group of people, please visit patreon.com/upturntable. But Quark, one of our patrons, let me know about that adventure that was released for Mutant Chronicles.
Okay.
So Mutant Chronicles released the Purging the Crucible. Right. I was like, wow, new content. That's great. They've been promising something for a while. It's been delayed. This is actually the living campaign that they had promised and never delivered on. So it's all the materials that they developed for that with an ending on it.
Oh.
So all the maps and adventures and everything that was developed for that was already, everyone that had signed up for the living campaign has that already.
Oh, okay.
They just don't have the ending and maybe the layout. Maybe it was, laid out nicely.
So they kind of had like the text document or like the Word
Yeah, they had
document?
PDFs
Okay.
of everything to be able to run this living campaign, and it never materialized. So people have been kind of sitting on this stuff and waiting to see what was going to happen, because for a living campaign they have to have some center where they're collecting data and results and showing things, and they just didn't do that.
Oh, right. Okay. Because I was thinking kind of like, well, a living campaign doesn't have an end, right? You kind of just keep playing it, right? But no. If you're doing that, let's put out the adventure. Hey, what happened in all of your groups? Collect the data and then update the actual official setting or world based on that. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So this living campaign lived only in the minds of Modifius developers. So, and so Quark made the comment that they've already got all the materials. It's a little bit hard to spend $10 just for whatever ribbon they wanted to, whatever bow they wanted to tie on the end of this adventure. So that's a shame. So it's not a good sign. I thought it was a good sign. It was fool's gold, right? A false hope. They're just trying to, material that they've developed, they're just trying to get out there and have people take a look at. So if you didn't sign up for the living campaign, this is going to be new material for you, and it'll be, some new Mutant Chronicles content, but unfortunately that means they're not actively supporting this system and this game. Yeah.
Well,
so I'm
going to try and be a ray of sunshine here, which is like really against my type. So I'm going to stick my foot in my mouth here. Yes. Do you think does this necessarily mean they're not going to support the game? Right? Because it's kind of like we had this stuff.
Right.
We promised it. Let's get it out, even if it's not in a form that we kind of promised, i.e. the living campaign. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wondering if, for people who, like you said, didn't back it, objectively, because you were kind of excited about the adventure last week. Did you read it? I mean, okay, that came out really accusatory. My point was, if you didn't get it in the Kickstarter, do you think it's worth the $10 investment for an adventure?
Probably, yeah. Sight unseen. Like, I would think that, if it's new content, $10 is a pretty reasonable amount. Seeing that most of the adventure books are like at least $30.
Oh, right. Okay.
And if they did a nice layout, they included the art or whatever that was developed for it. But if you already have it, it's like okay,
it's not
something new, please. Yeah.
Right.
So that's too bad. But we'll see, and we'll see if this does well. Maybe that if people that didn't know anything about this and people kind of knew that watched an amazing video lore series and became interested in Mutant Chronicles, if they're coming to this setting and this is the RPG for the setting. So we'll see. And somebody even mentioned in the comments that they are developing a 5e version of Mutant Chronicles. Well, so what would you choose if you had to choose? Gun to your head, Savage Worlds or 5e Mutant Chronicles? What would you play?
Is the bullet an option? No, because I want to see my kid grow up. Damn it! All right, rough.
Yeah.
So Savage Worlds or 5e adaptation for Mutant Chronicles?
Yeah, so the setting is Mutant Chronicles, but the system would be...
Then I think... from what I remember of the Mutant Chronicles war game, because that's the only one I played, I would probably go Savage Worlds, because it's a kind of a classless system. I mean, you don't have those archetypes and stuff. I don't see you hammering Mutant Chronicles into a class and level system, which is kind of what you would have to do. I would assume, unless you're going to really strip it down to like D20 basics, I don't see it working with Mutant Chronicles. So I would go Savage Worlds, where you kind of pick an archetype, pick those edges and hindrance to kind of not custom build, but it seems a bit more freeform than
and more pulp, a little bit more.
Yeah, a little bit more pulp. Yeah. Good point. Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. So,
however, I can't. I mean, It is the most popular elf game in the world right now. So while I don't particularly like it and scroll past stuff that's done for 5e, I cannot fault anyone, big company or small independent designer who says, I need money.
Right. And
making it for 5e is going to get eyeballs on it. So let's do that. I respect that decision, even if I don't agree with it.
Yeah, it's kind of like choosing a publishing platform. You know, you don't. Amazon leaves a bad taste in your mouth. They take a big bite out of your profit, but everyone's going to see it. So it's one of those kind of sacrifices.
Yeah. Oh well.
Yeah. But so speaking of things that have never been made, like a 5e version of Mutant Chronicles, the storyboards for the unproduced Dune movie that was being developed in the 70s went on sale. So this is, if you've seen the documentary Jodorowsky's Dune, this is Alejandro Jodorowsky. He either is an amazingly charismatic guy or he's got really good drugs, because he put together a beyond dream team to produce a film adaptation of Dune, having never read the book. Someone explained the story to him.
Okay.
And so what they did to raise money, to find investors, is they produced storyboards. And these storyboards were produced by Mobius, the French comic book artist, and some of the most amazing illustrators ever. And they just made this giant telephone book of their pencil drawings and illustrations.
That's cool.
And then just shopped it around. And so there probably between 10 and 20 copies of these existed at that time when they were actively fundraising in the 70s. One of the existing copies just sold for nearly $3 million at auction in Paris. I think it was Christie's. Yeah, Christie's. So they expected about 40,000. The 28 to 40,000 was the range. And so 10 times that, almost 3 million US it went for. So it's a collection of everything. So it's the storyboards that were produced in the 70s. So this cast, and everyone committed, everybody that I'm going to name has committed to doing this film. It's just the money didn't happen. So the Emperor of the Universe was going to be played by Salvador Dali, and Paul Atreides was going to be Mick Jagger. Pink Floyd was involved in the soundtrack. And the list goes on. Just like he just thought of the most wild person to do something, and they got involved. Yeah.
Okay, because I haven't watched all of the new movie. I've watched bits and pieces of it because we're playing on the break room. Growing up, well, not necessarily growing up, but obviously watching the 1984 David Lynch movie, that, I think, colored my perception image of what the Dune universe looked like. Because I'm rereading the books now. I'm almost done with Dune Messiah, and I must not have read that book before.
Oh, yeah?
Because I don't remember all the stuff that's going on in it. Like, I know the kind of the plot, but anyway, nothing really in the books indicate that kind of fancy, opulent, like Baroque style.
No, that's true.
Weird science fan. I mean, the imagery, at least, right, is kind of not referenced in the book. Right. So it must be the 1984 version that's kind of coloring my idea that Dune is this kind of like weird, ornate sci-fi thing. My God, the 2021 version was flat and drab and joyless compared to that. Minimalist. So, I don't know.
So this probably would have made the David Lynch version look like a Lifetime movie.
Yeah.
This was insane because, Jodorowsky was originally like an experimental theater producer. And so he's famous for The Holy Mountain, El Topo, like those were kind of the classics. And if you've ever seen any of those movies, like the imagery is just beyond, it's just insane, like what he does in his films. So to think about him applying that thinking to Dune and kind of like where he was putting, because he was thinking about, just the ideas of what is an emperor of the universe? What is this, Messiah boy that sees the future? So that and a lot of psychedelics would have really brought us an insane film. And so, if you watch that documentary, you'll see a lot of the suggestions of what could have happened. The book itself that went on auction was 268 monochrome plates, 11 color plates, and all photographic reproductions of any art that was produced.
Cool.
So this, he also got So not only Mobius, but Foss, Geiger, and then also the other French illustrator involved. And basically the team he put together for the visual to do, special effects and visual design and everything kind of stayed together and went on to, produce things like Alien. And so we saw their works and their initial connection made through this project endured in Hollywood. So we did get to see their production work done in other things. Yeah. So Blade Runner, Alien. Yeah, we've seen that kind of stuff. So that's just insane. And I wish they would reproduce that book in some kind of coffee table paperback or something, because I'd love to be able to just go through that entire film as imagined.
I wonder when they say storyboards, I wonder how much of it they actually boarded out.
It was the whole film. It was the whole film. Yeah, it was insane.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. So we have storyboards for the entire what could have been.
And Mobius's amazing visual presentation. It was all just pencil sketches, but his composition and everything is so amazing. So yeah, you saw how they were gonna execute certain shots, and
ooh, nice.
It was amazing. Yeah. So unfortunately, we will never see that because a lot of the people involved are dead or very old.
Yeah. Oh, well, okay. I'd like to imagine there's some alternate universe somewhere where this movie was made. Right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. And maybe it's pretty good. Yeah, I don't know. But what you said about he kind of did the storyboard, not having read the book, based on someone telling him the story. I think in some cases, excuse me, that's a strength.
Oh, yeah. No, I think so.
It has the potential to be.
Yeah.
Because that was the tie into the new one, right?
Mm-hmm.
When the new 2021 version came out, I was seeing a lot of different opinions where people were saying, people who had never read the books were kind of not all of them, but people were it was big, it was flashy, I had no clue what was happening.
Right.
People who read the books were yes, this is awesome. It was an amazing, not prequel, but setup, because this is only book one.
Yeah.
But the movie kind of has to appeal to everyone in a sense.
True.
And so great, you who are not familiar with this property, you decide kind of what are the important parts and what needs to happen to show the audience what's going on, because otherwise there may be too many sacred cows where we have to do this, and you have to, and it's do you?
Right. Yeah, the interesting thing about the 2021 version is they made some really interesting choices. They stripped out all kind of voiceover and what characters are thinking, and so that had to come across in acting. And so the actors had this huge burden of portraying certain tensions and things. And I think it was executed well. Okay. But I'm saying that knowing both the book and the sci-fi series and the Lynch version. So I know that story really well. And so I'm kind of watching another production of a theatrical version of Dune, and so I'm looking for these certain things. Oh, wow, that was a great choice. That was a great choice. So I'm not seeing it fresh at all, and just kind of admiring, his version of it, this interpretation of it. So yeah, it's a difficult thing, but I like a lot of the ideas. I mean, I think he was trying to work against the kind of some of the strange dialogue and how you don't feel like you can relate to these characters by changing the dialogue to more everyday speech. So humanize them a lot more, because everything around them was so bizarre or so cold and empty, and to make them communicate with each other in a very naturalistic way helped to work against that. But it doesn't, if you don't know what he's doing, it's odd. It's very odd.
Having recently read Dune, nobody in that book is nice, right?
Right.
I mean, not necessarily nice, but I'm reading, I do not believe that Jessica and Duke Leto actually loved each other. We're told we do, right? But I'm reading the dialogue, I'm but then I guess we've kind of gone off into the Dune cast, right? But I think, I feel that the focus of Herbert's point or story was the political movement, right? He wants to tell this story of this political thing, and you do need characters to anchor it, but they're kind of ancillary, right?
Yeah, right.
You don't necessarily need to care about them, because we want to see what happens with this once Paul becomes Messiah, which probably would not translate well to a movie, because you kind of need these characters to identify with. Otherwise, why am I watching it, right?
Yeah. No, that's very true. Humanizing that story is difficult, especially because you kind of get this feeling that Yeah, everybody is a pawn of the Bene Gesserit.
Yeah.
It's like we don't even.
Who, by
matter,
the way, are
do
not
we?
very nice.
Yeah. We don't matter, do we? We're just being bred, to produce this bloodline.
Oh man, yeah, I forgot I got to that part on my side when we're like, okay, let's look at the brother-sister option to maintain this bloodline. And I'm like, I'd forgotten about that.
What can we do here? Can we work with this? Well, speaking of Dune, the original kind of preview that if you pre-ordered Dune, the early adventure, kind of quick start adventure, is now available as a full-fledged adventure.
Oh, cool.
So they've kind of the 34-page introductory adventure is been rewritten. They took all the rules out of it because they're assuming you have the core rule book by now. And they changed it because it was very book one based. No, it was you were the kind of the first team down on Arrakis, kind of clearing the way, looking for traps and everything for the Atreides.
Kind of the team that got sent down, probably with Duncan Idaho.
Yeah, right.
Like, come back and like, well, we've swept the thing, everything's fine. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of named characters. The shout out mapes and everything is in it. So this will allow you to use your own house if you've created an original house in this setting to do this same adventure without being House Atreides.
Okay, interesting.
And it's a fun adventure, and that was the complaint I think that Chris and Lyle had. We ran that, and they're just like, I know this. It doesn't feel fun to like talk to Duke Leto. It's like. So I think this will make this a more useful adventure for people that are trying to do their own thing in the Dune universe.
We've talked ad nauseum, I think, about that being the problem with IPs in role-playing games, right? Like, okay, is it Dune if you don't get to talk to the people in the book and go to the places that are shown in the book?
Right.
But at the same time, why am I playing this game if, like, my little house can't actually end up being on the throne, right?
Right.
Yeah.
No, that's very true. Yeah, so I want to take a look at that and see. And so I'll put a link to that if anyone's interested. If you didn't play that and are getting into Dune late, have the core book or at least the PDF, you can run this. And it's very easy to run. It's very fun. And I like that basically the early version of it was just a Word doc. And so that was the first time that I had run something that I was like writing all over beforehand and then during, because it was a kind of a destructible document. So I printed it out and was just scribbling all over it. And so that made it much more fun, like multiple sessions. I could go back and like, we did decide this and we decided this. So all the details were recorded as we were playing.
So notes, very useful during a game, especially for the GM.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. So yeah, I would recommend. It's a fun little adventure.
Interesting. I'm gonna have to go look at that.
Definitely. And just in time for the holiday weekend, a major sewer collapse happened in Nottingham, England.
Okay.
So the Games Workshop headquarters is shut down. So that would be Warhammer World and the offices. I'm not sure if that's actually like manufacturing or warehousing or what that is, but a huge sewer collapse. Originally reported as a water main break, then changed to a sewer collapse, and they are reluctant, I think, to reveal that it's just Skaven tunnels.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Right?
Yeah.
So the media will not acknowledge the existence of the vile Ratmen.
Got to protect that warp stone, yeah.
Right.
Or I was thinking some kind of like Nurgle portal.
Yeah, right. Oh, that could be as well. Yeah. And we have support of this. We have evidence of this. The possible corruption, the taint of chaos within Games Workshop, because they did release a statement kind of defending themselves, but at the same time, the wording of the statement is exactly how the Traitor Legions and Chaos speaks about the Imperium.
Okay.
The Imperium is driven by hate. Yeah. Warhammer is not, right? So there are no goodies in Warhammer 40K.
Oh, yeah, I talked about this.
Especially not the Imperium of Man. So the numberless legions of soldiers and zealots bludgeon their way across the galaxy, delivering death to anyone who doesn't adhere to their blinkered view of purity. Almost every man and woman toils in misery, either on the battlefield where the survival is measured in hours, or the countless manufactorums and hive slums. And they even refer to the living corpse of the God Emperor. Yep. That is chaos talk. That is proof that Games Workshop is completely infiltrated by the gods of chaos.
Yeah.
But this was in response to a troll edgelord, showing up at an event in Spain with some odd racist, symbolism on him, which was his original manufacturing, and then he registered under the name of Austrian painter. eliciting a fallen National Socialist.
Yeah.
And so,
Wow.
So this whole statement was in response, but I've heard a few people say some very interesting things about this, and it was kind of what I was saying that got all the dislikes, I think, during the solo cast. Is saying Games Workshop doesn't know what IP they have, and they want to sanitize it and make it family friendly. So and I didn't read the whole statement, but they go into the statement basically saying, when in the books and on the packaging, it says the heroes of the Imperium. Well, that's propaganda by the Imperium. It's like, well, how are we supposed to discern these things? Yeah, the Space Marines are heroes, and all except the most recent edition, they are called Heroes of the Imperium. Humanity is under siege, the last hope, the defenders of. And okay, that's heroic. And as a little kid, you would say, cool, I want to be these guys. And I don't think there's anything wrong with then growing up and saying, as you get older, saying, well, these guys are kind of fucked up. And now I read the books, and this is kind of messed up. And that's an interesting, because the whole world does that for you. The whole world, your parents look like these, can do no wrong icons of adulthood. And then
also
you find out
power armor.
Exactly. And then you found out how alcoholic and philandering they are. And so I think, experience of that IP can work well to kind of help you grow up in the world and understand, there is no good. It's not. And so the 40K setting is a amoral setting. It's not there's not good versus evil. There is no good because humanity it's the end. It's the final days. And so what you do during the final days is you cannibalize each other. You sell your children. You don't do things based on, will people think I'm doing good? Or what will my neighbors think about this? It's pure survival. So this weird desperation, that's the appeal of the setting for me, is that weird desperation and how ugly humanity gets. But if you stand back and try to look at this as like, well, what if we made a Disney Plus series? How would we present?
Okay, I wasn't going there.
How would we present that? It doesn't work.
No, I had not thought of it that way, but I absolutely agree with you. Going into a Games Workshop store as a kid, they're people.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
they're humans, right?
Right.
They're I guess remind me, in design terms and publishing terms, hero image, right? That's the cover that goes in the front of the box.
Right.
So two meanings of hero here. They are the hero characters because they're plastered and everywhere you go in. Mm-hmm. They're also the heroes in the more literal sense where they're protecting humanity. So it's exactly what you said. I completely agree that as you grow up, you kind of realize, they're doing some stuff that's not great.
Right.
Unfortunately, I don't think everybody gets that, right? You have to have the critical thinking skills to realize that. But I also don't think that Games Workshop makes that easy. Mm-hmm. You go back to first edition, it is obviously satire and parody because everything is just extreme to an absolutely ridiculous point. But we've had how many editions of it now where I think it's totally fine to go, no, this is in-universe propaganda, but exactly as you said, there's nothing out of universe making that explicitly clear, right?
Yeah.
So unless I'm glad GW did this because that whole what is it called? The paradox of tolerance, right? Where to have a tolerant society or group or fandom, you cannot tolerate intolerant people, right? So that whole thing of you got to accept everybody. No, you don't, right? You got to kick out the Nazis, trolls, and bigots if you want to have a nice community. Right. And that's exactly, hopefully, the steps they're kind of taking. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, you also got to go, which they kind of did with this announcement, go outside the fiction, be like, yep, these are the baddies, right? Nobody's good. This is in-universe propaganda. Blah, blah, blah. And I don't think, to really give that statement teeth, I don't think they've been doing it enough.
Right.
Maybe this is the start of this is satire again, period in GW history where they're going to make that explicit because I think for a while now that hasn't been the case.
Right. I think, they've gotten very serious, and a lot of their, the Black Library fiction and everything, puts you really deep into the mess that, that it is. So you don't see it as satire anymore. It doesn't look like the fall of the Roman Empire or late Hellenistic Greece. Right. It, just looks like humans being sons of bitches, to everybody else. It just looks, putting humanity in the worst possible light. And the funny thing is, you are supposed to be kind of on the human side, or you should be on the human side, is how things are put. But without that satire, without that obvious satire in it, you're not realizing, oh, right, so this is like Catholic Church. Oh, okay, this is like Roman Empire. Yeah, you're missing a lot of references and kind of like the historical baggage, like the inspiration they took from science fiction and history. They are stuck with that baggage. Right. They're stuck with, those sorts of images.
I think you're kind of in science fiction case. I think it's, especially in 40K's case, like the universe is fucking stagnant as shit, right? So I think it's fine for them to, like, people have pointed out this came from like 80s culture in Britain, right? The whole section. Right, yeah, but I think it's fine to go like, no, this is and forever will be the tone of 40K, because we're so far in the future that like predictions don't matter. Nope, it's this and always will be this. We can kind of hold on to it. Yeah. But someone pointed out, and I forget who on social media, they're like, okay, especially with like the fiction, they were trying to think of a time where in the official lore or fiction, humanity being assholes is or was the cause of them losing. Right? Like, it kind of seems like they are like the Mary Sues were like, oh, my flaws, I'm too awesome, right? Where it's like, well, that's not a flaw, right? Like, if you do have flaws, they actually have to come back and affect you and bite you. And I don't think, I'm not a Warhammer 40,000 lore scholar, but I can't think of a time where the Imperium has lost because they're fascist, xenocidal morons that they are, right? Like, it's always been like, oh, we got our butts kicked because those Tau are just too strong, right? So, and also in terms of like pointing out the Imperium is not the heroes. I remember last year where I had to lock my Twitter account down for like a week because of all the fucking harassment I was getting, where I said, despite them being the poster kids, humanity is not the heroes. Humanity is not the heroes. So, suck it, trolls.
Yeah, it's a difficult thing. Yeah, there was there's been a lot of good points, I think, made about this and looking at this setting, but I think it's useful. Like, a company can't control how their IP is perceived and how people enjoy it. Like, if they're gonna put it out there, they can say, you can't come to a tournament, you can't be a public face, we're not gonna put you on the front of the website wearing our t-shirt, but you can't control how people enjoy your setting. And if people are gonna really get off on the genocide or whatever in that setting, you're selling war, and this, another YouTuber made this point really well. You're selling war to children. Yep. And so you gotta accept everything that comes with war, all the ugliness and horror that exists in war. Otherwise, if you want to be this clean, family-friendly company, don't sell war. Don't sell armies and invasions as entertainment. I
mean, it's kind of like I guess a couple points here. It's kind of like the 80s cartoons where I remember like G.I. Joe and all these warriors stuff. Like, what were the bad guys? Robots.
Yeah, right.
Like robots. Why? Because you can't show people killing people. And it's kind of the same thing, right? Yeah, you're selling war. Your factions are all like sentient beings that like bleed and do all this stuff, except a couple of them, right? But you're just like, yeah, you're killing each other. So you can't really sanitize that unless you do. I mean, I always say Tyranids are the most moral of the 40K factions, only because they're a force of fucking nature and don't have any sentience, really. Like, people versus unthinking bugs, like Starship Troopers. Like, that's one of the ways you can kind of do it, where it's like, nope, these people are never good. Right? But, yeah, like, you can't really sanitize that. Back to what you said about a company not being able to decide how its fans interacts with it. That's true. But to follow up on, or to add that, like, are we the baddies meme? Like, when enough people who are like actual Nazis and all that stuff are, yeah, we love this thing, the company's got to go, you know what? Maybe we need to rethink what we're doing here. That's the other thing. Like, you're always going to have outliers, but what if the majority of your fan base is toxic assholes? Yeah, if you're doing something wrong.
Yeah, the iconography of your fantasy universe, if that becomes incorporated in like real world hate, then you're going to have to question kind of what you're doing. Yeah, so it's a tricky thing, and I think this has already been done. Like, Blizzard tried to do this with Warcraft. They tried to make it more family friendly. They did the same thing. Games Workshop did release the kids books and like the adventures in the Happy Orc lands, and they tried to do this weird stuff to and you can't do it. It's impossible. And Warcraft is sanitized, for Warhammer Fantasy. It's much just a little cartoonier, and it's different, and then they tried to push it in that direction. I just don't think that's possible. So they should have learned from Blizzard. This is not going to happen.
like we talked before. Hey, there's 40K kids books, right? What was it, like the Necron harvesting? Right.
What's going to happen?
Yeah, I don't know. Like tangent, but only because we talked about HeroQuest last week. I kind of felt like, man, I really want to make like an adventure board game in that HeroQuest vein with like the different colored die with the symbols and stuff. And of course, I first went to like fighting, and then I kind of went like, I could do like Brighthammer, but the whole point of that is like you're heroes, and I could not get around the idea of whomever it is you're going to fight.
Yeah,
if they are sentient, living people, that's going to come with the baggage we've been discussing. And how do you get around that? And I don't know if you can, but like the person said, you can't sanitize it. If you're if you're going to sell war, you got to be like, this is war. You're going to be fighting these people, and just accept that that's not really for kids.
Right.
However,
even though that's such a natural, like the first time a kid picks up a stick, he points it at someone and goes bang bang.
My kid is picking up like there are no guns in my house, but I'll make my kid and hammer and shield and stuff like that. But like she'll like point at me and like bam 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 bam. I'm like she's picked it up from daycare, and I'm like, I don't like that, right? Like I've made it a point like I don't like playing like that, but it kind of reinforces what you said, like through play culture, like fighting is unfortunately kind of something you do, so it's kind of natural for kids to gravitate to it. And hey, those kids have all that disposable income, so let's grab them fast, right? But I don't know.
Yeah. So it's just it was a funny coincidence of these two things: the Chaos Portal opening underneath Nottingham, and
then this fake this announcement from the false emperor,
right? Yeah. So very very funny relationship between those two things. So I wonder if this is going to actually have like logistical effects and things.
Oh, maybe, I don't know.
Because they said nothing is going to be fixed. They're expecting Monday, like the 29th or something, for them to actually be open again.
Wow.
So that's quite a few days, to be down.
But like you said, we don't know exactly what is at the headquarters. If this will affect, like, this might just be like office buildings. I mean, which is not, I'm not saying they don't matter, right? But we don't know.
Yeah. So maybe they can all remote work around it, but it is the taint of chaos. No doubt.
That's an unfortunate word.
The taint of chaos. Anyhow, there is no transition to be making now. Well, speaking of like living campaigns, like we were talking about earlier, there's an interesting thing that they're doing. A Greek studio, Black Lantern Productions, is working on it's 5e. So,
okay.
But it's a setting for 5e that they're calling Soulmist, and they've released an open beta. So Time of Judgement is the open beta, and what this is a series of 4 one-shot adventures that have pre-gen characters, and they kind of give you the background of the world, and you know the system, so you can play the system, and you explain the background of the world, and you kind of record the results. So you can play one of these one-shots, any one of them that you want, play them in order, or kind of interact with this however you want, and then file voting. You can do voting. Cool. And so all of this voting and what's going to happen with this open beta is going to affect how the world appears in the Kickstarter. So in January, they're going to be doing a Kickstarter for this setting, and this Time of Judgment they're going to use to kind of inform them what people enjoyed the most about it, because it is 5e, but it starts out with a kind of a court trial, and so it's not hack and slash. Like right away you're starting in a courtroom, but it's interesting because I didn't know what the system was, and I was reading about the setting, and then I got to the pre-gens, and I'm like, 5e, it's obviously 5e. But
so your lawyer is also a paladin.
But yeah. But right away though I was like, so I know this though. I don't have to be like, okay, what is the D66 system? And there wasn't anything. It was the setting I had to learn. So that might be a big reason that people lean towards 5e. It's like so many people know how to play this. So if we just put DC 13, everyone's like, yeah. It's already a language that is going to get people into your setting. Yep. So so I thought this was an interesting approach, and I'll put links to everything for the adventure itself, and then the voting form.
Interesting.
And a Greek studio as well. I haven't seen that before. We've seen some Italian studios supporting 5e, but this is the first Greek producer that we saw. So January 2022, Soulmist
the Kickstarter
will be on Kickstarter. But for now, you can take a look at Time of Judgement and kind of the races. They have like a were-beast race and a vampire race. So they're pushing the kind of the fun parts of fantasy as much as they can to kind of have kind of good and bad nature clashing against each other and stuff. So it's interesting stuff and beautiful illustration, of course. Yeah, so take a look at that. And see what you think. And I think it's interesting for small publishers to kind of open themselves up to that, because they're going to maybe get some information and some voting. Really? This is what people want? It's like, so that'll be, it'll be fun to see their, kind of reaction and how they change their setting, or how they change what they're going to do with their adventures.
I certainly understand creating a product that your intended audience wants to engage with, right?
Right.
So the number of times I've been in front of people like, hey, help me out. Which of these things should I do, right? But I also kind of wonder, like, after a certain point, there comes a point where you're like, we are no longer making the game that we wanted to make.
Right.
That's going to be different places for different people. And what you said is absolutely true. One of the big reasons to stick with 5e is because people know the system, and so they can focus on the setting and what is different.
Yeah.
I mean, I've talked before about how I did not grok the PBTA system until I read Dungeon World, because I was already, who isn't already so familiar with fantasy adventure role playing, where I went, I get how you apply these rules to the game, because I am no longer trying to understand both setting and mechanics. I'm only focusing on one.
Nice.
So it's kind of the same thing the other way, right? Hey, mechanics are the same. Figure out what's going on with the setting a lot easier, because you don't have to worry about numbers and rules. So yeah,
well, that's good. Unfortunately, maybe that input from players can become like that executive decision maker. It's like, they say we want to do this, now let's do this. Let's do something else. Like you'll oppose some of their decisions, because it isn't what the game set the game world you wanted to.
Again, I forget to tell this, but I saw something pretty good the other day. Don't accept criticism from someone you wouldn't accept advice from.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
So it's like, there's going to be outliers on those things. So
to
be fair, if everybody says, no, we want this, then you're like, oh, okay, well, let's rethink it. But if there's only a few people going, this one sucks, and like the majority of people go, well, it doesn't suck, right?
Right.
I'm just bitter about stuff at work changing because 2 students complained about something, where it's just like, really, we're making this major change because a fraction of people complained about something.
The 2 most influential students.
Obviously, because they were the only 2 to respond. So that's 100% of respondents said this, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's funny that we've come a long way, because it used to be if you wrote a letter to a television station, it would have effect because you actually, went to the post office, you put a stamp, and you did something.
Maybe we need to go back to that.
Now you can just launch emails, but TV still like looks at that stuff and says, how much should we weigh this? It's like, come on. It's 0 effort. Just sit on your couch and fire email at people. So it's funny. But
we are now only accepting criticism and advice from people who write in physically to the show and pay for postage to Japan. Yep.
That's right.
We'll get it about 3 months after you send it.
That's right. So all your dislikes have to be actually physically.
We're just going to open up this letter, just thumbs down,
right? Or just some sort of arsenic powder or something like that.
Hopefully not. Don't do that idea.
That's the biggest dislike of all.
Yeah, really.
All right.
Cool.
Well, but that's it for this week.
Yep. Cool.
So where can people find you?
On Twitter, as always. That's Hivemind, HYVEMYND, where I'm still painting. I'm still thinking about a box set for Brighthammer and pricing stuff out there.
Cool.
And interspersed with parenting tweets, because that takes up the majority of my time when I'm not at work. So yeah.
Right. Nice.
How about you?
So I do a single panel gag cartoon that I draw on live stream on both YouTube and Twitch. So abusecartoons.com, and then Abuse Cartoons on all social media for that. And if you want to support what we're doing here at Upturned Table, upturntable.com is the website. Becoming one of the elites, one of the group of patrons that.
Speaking of accepting advice.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So giving us feedback and also helping us understand like what not to be so excited about. So patreon.com/upturnedtable. And you can also become a member of this channel. So click that join button below. And so membership gets you the same access as becoming a patron. So some people aren't big fans of Patreon.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're bigger fans of YouTube, but and always please feel free to suggest other ways that you would prefer to support what we're doing, because we've had like the coffee.com
I was going to say just about
other accounts, or directly through PayPal. We have a PayPal donation link as well. So if there's certain things you just don't feel like supporting or don't want to create an account for, just let us know what you do prefer.
Yeah, speaking of where, just become a like and subscribe. Yeah. Sorry, this joke's never going to die here.
Nice. So thanks for joining us, and we'll be back again next week.
Happy Thanksgiving. Later, mortals.
Goodbye. All right.
Awesome. I think I got to bounce. Ooh, a little bit. Cool.
Thanksgiving, yeah. So there's... what's that?
Tomorrow, I completely forgot.
Oh, no problem.
My partner was like, yeah, Maya and I are going to have lunch with her sister. I'm like, cool, I got to do it myself. Hey, Jeremy, yeah. Then I'm like, oh, that's right. Shit, the reason you're going is because I took Tuesday off.
Yeah,
right. Saturday, and I'm like, woke up that day and literally went like, oh. Yeah.
What a schedule.
Yeah. Who knows their schedule 2 months in advance to submit paid holiday requests?
Yeah, that's brutal. But you've got that happy Labor Thanksgiving Day coming up, right? In Japan, they have Labor Thanksgiving.
Was that the 23rd?
Yes, think so. Yeah, maybe we already had it. We already had it.
Yeah, Labor Thanksgiving. Oh, well.
Nice.
Hey, too bad we don't get Black Friday off.
Oh, yeah, right. It's such a...
All right. I got to bounce. So
okay.
Hopefully we can do something sometime.
Yeah, definitely.
All right.
Yep. Take care. See you. Oh, all right. So let me just take a quick look in the chat. Yeah, so thanks for joining us. Oh, nice. Oh, Alvaro, thank you for, Mutant Chronicles. Yeah, we are still releasing the Mutant Chronicles fiction series, so that's available for YouTube members and on Patreon as well. And possibly there will be a Christmas-related way that you can hear some of those coming up soon. So, let's see. Oh, interesting. Oh, yeah, Miguel. We're talking about Dune. That's right. Yeah, no, that's true. I think Chris is very political in the reading of a lot of text, and so that I think that overrides a lot of things. But no, that's a very good point. Is Lady Jessica defied her order and gave the Duke a son. Yeah, in the new movie, they do make it seem a little bit more like it wasn't so much for their relationship, but her arrogance, like that she thought that would be okay. I think in the Lynch film, they reinforced that. And I'm forgetting exactly in the book their conversations about it, but no, that's interesting. I definitely think. I think a political reading of Dune does take away a lot of those personal relationships, which I think the new movie definitely tries to put in there. They try to reinforce the bonds and kind of, duty and things that are passed, between the generations. I think that's done pretty well. Hey, K5, how's it going? Yes, exactly. 40K. When 40K lost the squats, they lost everything. Yeah, those must have been the good guys. They have to be. They have no choice. Nice. Oh, man. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, visually, I was I didn't get to see it in IMAX. There's still a chance, but I didn't get to see it in IMAX. But I was really blown away. I love the art direction for the Blade Runner sequel. Not crazy about the story and how they tried to serve both storylines in Blade Runner. But I really love the visuals of the new Dune. So that's a little bit, and some of his his interpretations of things I thought were interesting. so it felt kind of unique. And the thing that he kept talking about, Denis Villeneuve was talking about, he's trying to serve like the biggest critic, and the thing he's trying to serve is that like 15-year-old boy that, looked at the cover of the Dune novel and just imagined, what that world was. And so that's, how he's been talking about, that's his critic, and that's kind of who he's serving visually and in the storytelling. So yeah, I don't know if it's not creating a real crowd pleasing movie, and it's not doing a good job of getting new people into that world or that setting, because it's not very marketable. It was so strange. I saw on Fortnite they had skins for Paul and Chani in their still suits, and like an ornithopter like glider or whatever you take onto the island. So, but it doesn't really work. Like Fortnite is this black hole of absorbing all pop culture and putting the NBA and Star Wars and Marvel superheroes all in the same, or DC superheroes all in the same world. And it just looked very odd to try to make Dune the new Dune, this like weird pop culture thing. Yeah, it's so intense that in the new Dune there were emotions in scenes that I didn't even know kind of were there. Like they weren't really, didn't come across the same way in the 84 Lynch film or the book. And in this new film, there was like some really intense emotion that I thought worked really well. And that is such a contrast to the minimalist style of the kind of the art direction of it. And I liked a lot of the choices. I thought there was some really good, because it had to be PG-13, so there's not going to be a lot of blood. So the way that they work the shields with having a deflection is blue, a penetration is red, worked really well. So the visuals of the combat were very fast, and you could tell exactly what was going on. You could tell when someone was killed very easily just by the color their shield is flashing. So I thought that was a really a nice idea. There are a lot of like little touches like that were very well done, and the reality of the worms, they seem to like exist in that world really well, instead of just being this like CG kind of superficial thing that people aren't really in the same space with. It they had a nice reality to them. So they were just like these creepy toothed filters, and I loved how the teeth kind of just closed in once they so I think they had the David Lynch version had like the tripartite kind of mouth open, kind of like a flower, but this just has the teeth are long, like the whales, the thing whales have, only more plant-like or rigid. So it was very cool. Fortnite, yes, I brought up Fortnite. I'm sorry. Yes, I have a tween daughter, so that tends to come up. It's just funny. That's like how kids socialize now, hang out in Fortnite. Nice. Oh yeah. Yeah, there was really good. There was really good stuff. Like a lot of the detail. I think it was a very, Dune was really well done and really thoughtful. And also, so we're talking about the Jodorowsky. If you haven't seen that documentary, that's really worth kind of another kind of take, or another kind of look at that setting and that world, and like what could be done with that. I think the Jodorowsky kind of vision, it's more like experimental art theater version of Dune, but I think there's a lot of really cool stuff there. Sorry, but that documentary, if you haven't seen it, is really cool. And I wonder what is like generating such interest in that book of storyboards, because there's a few more out there. There's still possibly up to 5 or 10 surviving. So some rich investor somewhere has this couple $1 million Dune book somewhere in his office from the 70s. But yeah. Oh, nice. No, I don't think so. Yeah, no, I haven't. I haven't seen. My sorry, I'm sorry, going into this family Fortnite tangent. She plays on the Switch, so I don't see. She rarely plays on the television, which is nice to not always have Fortnite on the television. But she plays on the Switch, so I don't always see what she's doing. But I did see, like, okay, this is not tabletop related, but I think this is very interesting and maybe something that it kind of exists with 5e. Like we talk about everybody trying to make things work, like Marvel superheroes or Indiana Jones or whatever, make that work in 5e. Fortnite just absorbs these things. So if you're already playing it and it's where you socialize and hang out with your friends, the creative thing, the creative play that they have, basically it's a game design engine, and you can use assets in Fortnite to recreate other games. So you can play Among Us. I saw there's a version where you're basically playing Among Us as your Fortnite skins, and so basically it's able to co-opt anything. So just like 5e, if you already know 5e, you're already playing 5e, and you want to play sci-fi, well then just make it for 5e. So if you're already in Fortnite, that's where you socialize online. You're never going to try these other games because they've already shown up in Fortnite. And your first experience of that kind of who's the traitor, type gameplay, if that was in Fortnite, then everything else is going to look like an imitation. So I was really surprised by that, how the creative play version of that allows you to basically imitate any sort of gameplay, and they give you the the assets and abilities to basically imitate anything. So yeah, it's just going to absorb. It's just like this amoeba that's just surrounding and absorbing any new popular trends in gaming, especially online social gaming, can be absorbed by Fortnite. So the 12-year-old kids will play it. Wow. Yeah. Yeah, Alvaro. Yeah, I liked that aspect. I love Jodorowsky's films. I really like experimental films, and his Holy Mountain and El Topo are insane takes on like a religious journey or like a Western, and he did them very low budget, and I really like his take on things. So I can't even imagine like if he could have pulled off a big budget Dune film with Salvador Dali and Mick Jagger. That would have been insane. Yeah. Yes. That's true. It would have been, we would have found out exactly what he smoked with people to get them to agree so easily. Yeah, that was in that documentary, that's how it tends to feel that way. So he comes up with who he wants to do these things in this movie. He wants the best. He wants the best comic book artist in Europe to do the storyboards. He wants one of the most inventive visual designers to design the sandworms and ships and everything, Geiger. And but it seems like not until he meets with these people are they convinced that they want to do this sort of thing. So he doesn't just have, his representatives or whatever reach out to theirs and have some communication. There's a physical meeting, and something is exchanged during that meeting that makes people, go completely along with everything, every wildest fantasy he has to do. Yeah, so it may just be he has amazing acid, but it's really good to see the that take the visual design, and I think there's a lot of that. Online you can like Google search some of the design images from there. You can see how it's even more Baroque and ridiculous in its depictions of how decadent and weird like that empire, the empire of the universe would be. But yeah, it was something, I forget the details, but yeah, it was crazy. So the amount of money in this, and then we're talking about 70s money, the amount of money he would have had to raise. So I think it was kind of a losing battle because he got so many people involved. I think the final budget for that film would have been insane. It would have just been nice to have gotten some footage or something beyond the kind of pre-viz, pre-production drawings and things. It would have been great for them to, have just shot a few reels of film or done a few effect shots or something just to see, have a little bit of a taste of how crazy that would have been. Oh, man. Yeah, but very fun stuff. Yeah, so I think it's a shame that because of the pandemic and how production and things were delayed and the release of the film was screwed up, it really because we were talking beginning of 2020 how this was going to be the the year of Dune and all these things were coming out. So we had the RPG come out, and then we've had re-releases of the board games, and I think there's PC games coming, and they're all, depending on their license, they're either supporting the film, the look and feel of the new film, or they are just doing kind of their own generic fantasy take. I think the board game remake is just a kind of generic. It's a little bit David Lynch looking, so it's a little bit more of that take. The Gale Force 7, the board game that was the classic board game that they reskinned or just retouched. Nice. Oh yeah, Orson Welles. Yeah, right. Oh man, Orson Welles is the Baron. That is insane. Like how good that would have been. Like if he could have pulled that off, then like that would have raised the bar for like spectacle film. If you're going to do a big budget like ensemble spectacle film, it would have raised the bar to like something Hollywood would not have been able to touch for a long time. Oh man. Yeah. That's really fun. Yeah. I think they might be, I think they're overestimating how popular and what effect the film is going to have on the popularity of that IP. And yeah, they're kind of releasing unnecessary things because there's a lot of supporting board games now and PC games. So I don't know. I don't think it's I think the timing just got all screwed up. There was no good marketing build to anything. And but I'm so excited that they. So I guess initially Villeneuve wanted to shoot 1 and 2 together, but that would have been a huge, a huge budget increase, and so they denied that. But that actually they think is going to make the second part better because it will be more focused. It won't be kind of dividing your efforts and having to take basically an overlong film and cut it in half. It'll actually be 2 films, and he shot enough because of Paul's prescience. Like he's had visions of so many things in the future. They've obviously shot scenes of like Lady Jessica holding Arya and. Aya. Sorry, I'm getting my Game of Thrones mixed up. So holding Aya and a lot of the visions of things they've already shot some of it or created it, but now they get to actually go back and do a second. And he even said that the biggest thing, or the thing that I respected the most about what Villeneuve said about Dune is he wants to make 1, 2, and 3. So Dune, the first book, divided into 2, and then Dune Messiah as a book, and then after that, it would make a good trilogy. It's Paul's story, and then beyond that, the books definitely, once there's questions about the fate of Paul Atreides and kind of what happened, I think that's even harder to film and even harder for people to get invested in. I don't think it will work as a long series of films because by the time you're Chapter House and there's a lot. It's going to make the philosophy and religion of like Matrix look very weak. So so I'm glad that's the vision that he has in mind, is to go all the way through Messiah. It would make a good trilogy. I think it really would if we kept that look and feel of it. And Fade in part 2, yeah. Yeah, did you hear that detail? That Sting was all for doing full frontal male nudity for Fade in that scene where he comes out of the steam in the Lynch film. He was like, yeah, I'll just do that totally nude. And they put the little winged bikini, little Speedo on him. But it's like, I don't know how that would have done for Sting's career. That would be a very funny choice. But, I think he's down for the art. Yeah. So, the casting of that is I think the casting was good. I don't like the vocal fry of Zendaya's voiceover so much, but what she says is good. Like the lines are good, so it works well. And it she sounds young, so that works. But yeah, that she's very a person of this time, and so it's kind of like if she had like a Valley Girl, like rising, last sound of every sentence. It's kind of like letting an actor do that in voiceover. So if that's in the 80s, yeah, I guess that reads as young. But once we get a few decades old with that film and her very vocal fry dialogue, it's going to sound, oh yeah, right, that's that teens 20 thing where all girls talked like that. It's going to be very recognizable as kind of like the Valley Girl twang of the 2020s. But yeah, I liked it very much, and I really want to get a chance to see it in big IMAX. But I don't know; it's going to be hard. Hopefully, it sticks around. I saw that maybe in North America, Dune was getting a re-release, an IMAX re-release. So because they're like Eternals and stuff, some stuff came out that may have kicked it out of the IMAX theaters, but it's getting a re-release in the U.S. So hopefully, that keeps it popular in Japan as well. People need to see it. I don't want to see old Sting though in this new movie, because Sting is not young anymore. I don't even think he could get his hair to stand up. I liked, and the visuals. Yeah, the Harkonnen. So Lynch says Harkonnen. Lynch film says Harkonnen. That was the only thing that bothered me in the new Dune. So I liked all of the choices, the acting choices, the writing, directing, visual, everything. But it seemed like they intentionally tried to pronounce everything differently than I've ever heard it before. So you've heard like an audiobook of Dune, and you've heard the Sci-Fi Channel pronounce all the, words, the family names and the technologies and stuff. And then you've heard in this latest film, in the Lynch film, and then in this latest film, it seems like everything just has a slightly different emphasis and a slightly different pronunciation. Because even the Verhouet, it was like there were so many things that they said that like, okay, I know what he said, but why did they say it like that? So a little bit of weird pronunciation of things, and I don't know if that's just to be distinctive, to make it unique, or if that was because Villeneuve is French Canadian, but I don't know if he's got any. I think he might have. I don't know if he has any Spanish or anything, but your language is going to affect where you put emphasis or how you pronounce different syllables. But there were a couple of things. Harkonnen. There was always the different emphasis. So I don't know if it was done to differentiate, but that stood out, that they were like trying to pronounce differently, or they already had a different pronunciation in mind for a lot of really standard things. So you've already heard them said one way. So yeah, it's funny. Oh yeah. Right. Yeah, I think so. I think that kind of the Paul Atreides story is will be a good arc. But yeah, that pronunciation thing is odd, and they had to kind of I guess if you've only read those words, the pronunciation is kind of all up in the air. So to hear them pronounced differently from how they've been done a few different times, I'm not sure why. That was the only thing that stuck out to me, is like, oh, that was a choice, and that was a thing that they're trying to specifically do. And it came up just a few times with characters' names, or the names of different houses and things. So we'll see. But Frank Herbert definitely didn't make it easy. There's some tricky, some tricky things depending on your native language of how you would approach certain ones. But yeah, that's very, very cool. So anything else that I missed? Yeah, I wish there was a way to do a like an online screening, like sit and talk over the Jodorowsky documentary. That would be really fun. Yeah, I don't think there probably is like within a specific country. I think there's ways you can share like a Netflix stream or whatever, but I think between countries we couldn't do it, and with the time difference it may be tricky. Oh, but very cool. Nice. Well, thanks. Yeah, thank you so much, everybody in the stream. There will be more Mutant Chronicles stuff in the works, and I'll do a little sample because people I don't think, because the audio fiction has only been behind the Patreon or the membership, I want to show people what I've been doing with that, and so there'll be a holiday release of some of that stuff, and then also a very Capitolian Christmas I think we will all be having this year as a tease for the for what's being worked on right now. But yeah, so that will do it for this week. Thank you so much for watching the stream. And so the audio for this live stream will go into the Patreon RSS. So I'll sweeten it up a little bit so it's easier to listen to. And that'll go into Patreon RSS. This will be archived, of course, on YouTube and Twitch. And then the regular podcast comes out on all the podcast platforms, but I kind of cut it when Chris isn't here. It's just the stuff from Chris and I. So that's how things are released. And thanks so much for watching. And thanks for the likes. I appreciate the support on the stream. So we will be doing this again next week, and we'll be getting closer and closer to the holiday. Oh, and real quick, Runequest. So Runequest is happening not this classic second edition, but Sunday. I think our characters are kind of built, so we're going to start. And I'll talk a little bit more about that next week, and also how it went. But character creation is difficult. Yeah, in both RuneQuest and Call of Cthulhu, I don't think character creation is the strength of the game. It's a little, especially if that was your first RPG, I think that would be a bit daunting about what you have to do. And my character, I had some bad rolls right away because you kind of do ancestors' history, and I had a lot of death amongst my ancestors, so I didn't benefit a lot from the history of my family. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But I'll update you guys on, and this will be my first time playing RuneQuest. So RuneQuest is kind of a Bronze Age, not medieval Europe setting. So I'm curious how that changes things, and how differently your character acts, and also if I'm going to be able to get it, like if I'm going to be able to get what's going on in this setting, and if I won't just revert to D&D fantasy tropes or things. So we'll see. Yeah, so RuneQuest this Sunday. All right, so thank you so much for watching, and we will be back again. So thank you, Matt and K5, nice to see you. And Alvaro Roberto, thank you so much for I'm sorry, am I reading that? Yes, thank you so much for hanging out in the chat. And Miguel, as always, and we will be back again next week. And Robert, oh, nice. Oh, very cool. Thank you, Robert. I didn't see you at the beginning there. Yes, Mutant Chronicles, more to come. Yes, we got to get some good TSR Gygax drama if we're going to keep this live stream going. All right. So I'll see everyone next week. We'll do this same thing. And hope to see you in the chat. Goodbye.